Hey, 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 everybody. What is happening in your life? It's your pals JT and Keith. We're here with you on a playoff football Sunday, talking to you live
Playoffs,
from
playoffs,
playoffs.
playoffs.
We appreciate all of you who are joining at the spur of the moment. We regret not getting this into the circulation, but I wasn't even sure if I was going to do this tonight. I had a dinner date, and then I rushed home, and we were even late getting on the air. So, what's going on, my man?
Hey, you know what? I was on leave this week.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a reverb. I was on leave this week, and I did absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
It's tough to do anything when you're locked down. Uh, Pretty much locked down. I went to the BX, went to the commissary, a couple other things,
That's
but I
it.
didn't
That's the only
go
way you can stay not locked
anywhere.
down.
Yeah, I didn't go anywhere because there's nothing open.
No.
So what I did do what I
Doody
did
doo,
do
doody doo,
was
doo,
watch
doo, doo, doo.
uh, a lot of streaming stuff. Netflix, Prime. I watch movies.
Okay.
Um, that kind of thing. We can get into that later. But that's what I did for the last week. I did pop in to meet our new employee last Monday. Seems like she's going to be a great fit for the team. Looking forward to it. And other than that, I didn't do much at all.
So,
Enjoyed the snow when it came.
any news this week? I didn't. It was kind of a quiet week in the news, right?
Yeah, did you see anything in the news that
No.
is worth
No.
talking about?
No. We'll talk about what did
And, oh
happen.
my God! Wow, that's yeah.
Yeah. So,
Hi, Connie.
I want to welcome everybody who's joining us who's already signed in. Julie Veckeline signed in with her red wine. Ray Pollock is signed in from Cibolo, where she says it is snowing. So, thank you all for joining us. Thanks to all 7 viewers who are online with us now. We really sincerely appreciate that you're joining us tonight. So let's get started. Let's start out with the soft stuff first. So it's playoff football weekend, right? So if you don't know, if you're listening to us from the states, we don't get the games till late at night. So like tonight, the first game started at 7. I actually didn't see the beginning of it. I come on, hey Keith, what's the score of the? I don't even know which game it was. I thought it was the Bears Saints, but it's Ravens Titans, so it's 10-10 as we're
Ravens,
talking about
Titans.
this.
Yeah, it was 10-10 at the half. Yeah.
I managed to catch the
That's
the first 2 games last night. The Buffalo game was quite exciting, and they ended up winning that. And then ended
It
up
really
watching.
was.
And then I've sort of latched, since the Raiders didn't make it, I've sort of latched my wagon to the Rams as the remaining Los Angeles team that's left, or California team that's left, and we'll see how far they go. Though they're pretty beat up, so we'll see how that goes. Any favorites for you?
My second favorite team is the Saints.
Yeah.
I love the Saints. I love Drew Brees. So I hope they go.
Right.
And that would be poetic for Drew Brees if he went to the Super Bowl and ended up winning the Super Bowl.
With
because
like
I guarantee
17
you,
broken
if he wins the
ribs.
Super Bowl, yeah, if he goes to the Super Bowl and wins, he's done.
For
He'll
sure.
go out like Peyton Manning.
PJ will be here
Yeah,
soon,
so,
she says.
Well, tell him to hurry the hell up. So yeah, it's football is in the air, and this year they're doing the playoffs different because of COVID. They got 3 games today or yesterday, 3 games today.
Right.
The Washington
Football team.
Tampa Bay game. Yeah, Washington.
Did not.
football
That's the.
team
I tried to catch
against-
the recap today, but we had to head out and do some stuff. So
Yeah, I saw it, and I'll tell you what, the quarterback that came in for Alex Smith, which if you don't know the Alex Smith story,
It's amazing.
It's a fantastic.
it's amazing. He basically
feel-good story.
he came. If it's like if you were to tear the bottom half of someone's leg off, basically from halfway to the knee down. Well, just short of that for him. I mean, it was busted so badly,
Right under the knee, right.
and it's an amazing comeback story for him. Yeah, for sure.
But he had an injury to his calf
Right.
on that leg, so he couldn't play. So they brought in a backup guy who was last week
Right.
on the reserve COVID team.
Right.
Because some teams have started making a reserve COVID team after the Denver
Right.
Broncos lost all their quarterbacks
Yeah,
to
yeah.
COVID. So
And they
this
had the
kid
what was he, a
not
wide
played.
receiver or something like that playing as quarterback?
Yeah, a wide
Yeah.
receiver
Yeah, yeah.
come in who played 1 year at quarterback at West Virginia.
Right.
Come in and play quarterback, and of course they lost. Now that by the way, happened to be the same week the NFL rescheduled the Ravens game
Right.
3 times
Yep.
so Lamar Jackson could play.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Because they know
I
where their
digress.
money's made.
So this kid comes in and damn near beats Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. But congratulations to Tom Brady. Congratulations more so to the Buccaneers for making the playoffs, having a playoff win for the first time in a long time.
So we'll wrap up the show, and then I will basically head to bed and turn it on in bed and watch a little bit in there before I fall asleep and go play work for the rest of the week. So I got my COVID shot this week. As is fairly well. So a couple of points before I get into sort of the hows and whys and whatnot. First, the DoD is prioritizing personnel differently than they are in the civilian community. And in my current job, I just happen to be in a bracket that prioritizes the command group and some other folks as emergency essential personnel. So I was fortunate enough to be able to go and get a shot. I almost didn't. They as you know, Keith, it was kind of the schedule was kind of umpty, and then I got essentially like a 9:30 email that said, okay, they have one slot, and you can have that slot. And I was like, yeah, okay. And that's when I almost immediately I said, hey, Henry, our ops guy called and said, hey, there may be shots. So, but I think but anyway, so I would happen to be in that bracket, and I'm fortunate, of course. So I'll just caveat all that by saying, yes, our seniors are less than capable folks are definitely in need of those shots well before I am. I just happen to be in the DoD's bracket to get that. Still baffles me that children can't get it, like children under, I think it's under 16 for the Pfizer and 18 for the Moderna. But that's because it's still in the test phase, and hopefully the FDA will approve that if our nation doesn't fall under a coup. So in any case, so this is kind of how it worked. They called me, and go ahead, what?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say,
I was just laughing.
All right. So we will, this is basically how it worked. Again, we're fortunate that Keith and I are in the same community as the Landstuhl Regional Medical Center, which is the one big hospital in Europe. Everything else is kind of a clinic, so we're fortunate in that regard. They had, at noon, they had me come over, and there were about maybe 15 or 16 other people who were there from the garrison. My friend Jim, my friend Sal, a lot of our MWR personnel, they were there. So you stand in line, they hand you a metal clipboard, and it's a screening sheet. The screening sheet basically says, have you ever had an allergic to a vaccination or allergic reaction to a vaccination? Are you or will you be pregnant at any point? And then a few other
shit.
Yeah, right? I know, you're going to have to be on the lookout. So they ask you a couple of other questions, but unless you're like... There's the pregnancy thing, of course, and then there was one or two other medical conditions where I think they had to weigh it out. So I fill out the sheet, and it was interesting to me because it was all majors, lieutenant colonels. In fact, the woman who handed me my sheet and took it and screened for me was a full bird colonel. So that was interesting to me. So anyway, she took my sheet. It was all good, and then you stand in line for a few more minutes, and then they call you into the auditorium. Auditorium's got probably 6 or 7 stations, and then there's about 15 or 20 chairs on the far end. You go up on the stage. They have 2 tables where they screen you with the form. So they basically read the form, and then they verbally say, okay, one of the questions they actually said is, do you know how to, Fest Baby, do you know how to... do you understand English very well? Julie said pregnancy questions make me nervous, sips red wine, and so I offered up Fest Baby, which was her hashtag from some time ago. So so they sit and screen, but one of the questions they ask you is, do you understand the instructions we're giving you? Are you good with English? All those kinds of things. And I said, yes, of course. And then basically they just run over the form again. I made it clear that I was allergic to a certain medication. They said that doesn't factor into it. I said, cool, no problem. And then I was basically off. So walked down the stairs, stood for like 2 seconds. Someone called me over to a table. And then it's just like any other shot. You sit, you roll up your sleeve, takes the needle. The needle is very thin, goes into the meaty part of your arm, goes up there, and then it goes. And then after that, he puts a Band-Aid on your arm, and you go sit in a chair for 15 minutes. So the purpose for that sitting in the chair for 15 minutes is to see if you have any after effects or reactions or anything like that. Of course, I had none. Basically stared at my phone, looked at my watch, and that was it. And I walked out, said hi to a few friends who were sitting there as well, walked out, and that was it. From the point I entered the hospital to the point I left the hospital, 20 minutes. So it was great. They were fantastic, efficient, well-run, professional. And you got to give them credit because this whole thing has just been charging forward like the light brigade, right? So they've had to create all these plans and figure out how they're going to inventory and how they're going to account for people. So I just give all those folks major kudos. Plus, they're still doing hospital work, right? So major kudos for working this through and beginning this process. And because my process was fantastic from beginning to end. And I think yours will be because you're going tomorrow, right?
I'm going tomorrow, yes.
Yeah. So
in fact, I'm going there before I go to work.
Okay, so from beginning to end, it really is just okay, I don't know how many people they'll have in line. Now, I was updating folks, as I think a few of you who are here tonight saw about my status, just, sort of twofold. One, let you know what the side effects were, but so sort of, hey, I'm having a stroke right now, right? Which didn't happen, of course, and it's nothing really to make light of, but it didn't happen. But felt great, felt everything. Well, I sleep on my left side, which means that's where they gave me the shot. And so when I woke up this morning, however, my arm was howling. So it's been that way pretty much the entire day, except for maybe about an hour ago, it started to kind of let up. But I've had no other side effects since then. So our friend, I won't say that because it's a medical thing, but we have a couple of mutual friends who also got the shot, and they mentioned a metallic taste in their mouth. And they said that lasted about 2 to 3 hours. So just something to keep in mind when you go to get the shot. Once you get the shot, it will be, they'll give you about 2 weeks, and then you're supposed to schedule your appointment for your second shot. So my second shot is supposed to happen on February 6th, if all goes well. So I'm looking forward to that and getting the whole inoculation wrapped up. I think I'm the only person who's using the term inoculation. I feel so out in left field, but that feels like it's the right word. But that whole thing gotta be different. That whole thing will be wrapped up, and I'll be vaccinated. Now, what does that mean, right? What does that mean for us? Does that mean when people start getting vaccinated, we'll all have to be able to shed our masks and go on cruises and do all those wonderful things?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And think about again, you have a whole community of children under 18 who cannot get vaccinated. And they're still going to have to wear masks, and they're still going to have to go through the rigmarole until the FDA approves this, if our country doesn't fall victim to a coup next week. So that should come soon from what I understand, but it hasn't happened yet. So thoughts, comments? What do you think? Did I do it right?
Reverse order there before I forget.
Yeah.
I've seen a number of posts on Facebook, on Twitter, that, well, children can't get it. Bullshit. I just spoke with a friend.
Did you just raise your hand and go bullshit?
I did. Bullshit.
Okay.
I just spoke with a friend who her husband got it, and apparently transferred it to her and their 11-year-old daughter. Now, did they have it bad? No.
Oh, COVID. Okay. I thought you meant the vaccine. I was
COVID.
like, wow, that's a miracle.
COVID, sorry. Yes. Man, if you could transfer inoculations like that. Never mind. Anyway. Wow. Okay. Come here, baby. I got a needle for you. Okay, anyway.
Brown chicken, brown
cow. Thought about not saying it, but I overruled myself. So, yes. And they're talking about the biggest things they had. Yes, they felt bad. They were very fatigued.
Yep.
Still very fatigued 2 weeks later.
Yep.
But and you and I have a mutual friend that has this. The sense of smell is not there yet, and sense of taste is not there.
Right. So I
want
our mutual friend, who I think we're talking about, our mutual colleague as well. He's ill again, and you have to wonder if that's just not a carryover from COVID, right? He doesn't have COVID again, but he is ill again. So you have to wonder how much COVID
affected his immune system.
I mean, he's an older person. It wore that down, and now here we are. And I just feel awful because I haven't seen the guy in a very long time. I mean, since I started my tenure up there, I've seen him. I think he worked a couple of weeks, and that's it. I haven't seen him since then. So I mean, I feel awful about that. I just want to do everything I can for the guy, but you got to take care of folks. So
That's right. Which, going back to your point,
Yeah.
is why you still need to wear the mask.
Right.
You still need to wash your hands
Right.
and watch your distance.
Right.
So, and I heard somebody say, and this person has said this is a lot of times way out in left field, but I heard that the vaccine won't keep you from getting COVID. It makes the symptoms a lot more tolerable. So I need to find out more about that.
So one of the cool fucking things about the people we work with in the Army is many of them are very smart. Especially, I've always believed that the people who get appointed to positions of like, 4-star general, 3-star, those are smart people when you look at their bios. So the guy who runs the 30th Medical Brigade here is a guy named Brigadier General Mark Thompson. He explained it as to how the vaccine works, and basically how it works is. The Moderna vaccine anyway. I think it's how the other one works too. But essentially, it changes the DNA in such a way so that the fat that allows the virus to cling onto your body doesn't exist. And when the fat's not there, the virus has got nowhere to go and it dies. So if it can't cling there, it can't eat and it can't survive. So it can float around in your blood, but it's just going to be dead. Point I say to that is it was a really smart explanation that helped me understand it pretty good, and so I don't know that you're going to have any more symptoms so much as you're not going to have the virus. You may have the virus present in you, but it's going to die off. So they may stick a swab in your nose and be like, oh yeah, you're COVID positive, but if you're vaccinated, my understanding is the vaccine has already changed your physiology in such a way that the virus is just going to die when it gets inside of you. Now, I'm fortunate, and I don't know, we've got some folks on here, so chime in with your stories. But when I was growing up, there was always, and this may be for you too, brother, when we were growing up,
you got bit by a radioactive spider, so you won't get the virus?
I wish I got bit by a radioactive spider, but instead I got Hulk guns instead. But anyway.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. So... No, when we were growing up, there were some milestones like, did you have measles? Did you have mumps? Did you have chicken pox? And, diseases that you were supposed to sort of get, they would purposefully give them to you, right? And then you would, go back to school or whatever, and you're like, oh, I've already had chicken pox. I'm immune, right? Or I've already had measles, or I've already had mumps. I'm fortunate, I was born with a really, really good immune system, right? So I've never had any of those things. I've never had chickenpox. I've never had measles or mumps. I don't get sick that often. In fact, a lot of times when I just wanted to get out of the office, I'd fake a really good, cold or flu. I mean, so, this is when I was much younger, but nowadays you can just say, hey, I need a mental health day, which is, perfectly allowable. But, when I do get sick, I get sick. And a lot of times... So I'm curious from our listeners out there, if you're online, did you sort of hit that rigmarole? Because that's where we're sort of at with COVID now, is it feels like one of those things like, oh, did you get COVID? Okay, you won't get it again. And I don't think that's true either, right? But it feels like it's sort of in that rubric of measles, mumps, chicken pox.
I agree.
Not polio, not
Especially
TB. Those are a little more severe. But
and I never had any of those as a child. I did have pneumonia one time that I ended up in the hospital. I was 3-4 years old. I still vaguely remember it.
Those were in the, Keith Ewan says those were in the vaccine. Get ready. I was like, oh shit, great. That's what I needed.
Am I seeing this right? There's another Pennell watching.
Is there really?
If she's still watching. Yeah.
Oh.
My daughter's apparently
online.
Woo! So now she can verify.
Do we still need to get her a job
over the last 21 years old?
Do we still need to get her a job at the VA?
What? No, we need to get her master's degree over here. We need to talk her into that.
All right, we'll work on that.
So I got the chicken pox when I was 24 years old.
Oh, wow.
It damn near killed me. Yeah. I was in a bar. The bartender who I was friends with said, hey, the kids want to say hi. I poked my head into a van, and I got the chicken pox.
Oh, Jesus.
So I was in the hospital because I was 24 years old, diabetic, and had the chicken pox.
Wow.
And you know how I always say nobody tells on me like I tell on me?
Yeah.
Well, get ready for this one. This is probably the largest pain I've ever had in my life. All
Wow.
right.
Wow.
What is Julie saying?
She said,
Okay.
she's saying, I had chicken
So
pox at age 5. Later, I got shingles twice before age 35. I would not recommend. Yeah, I wouldn't take that
Yeah.
recommendation. I would give that a 1
So
star on Yelp.
so 24 years old. I woke up the next day after being at a bar, and I felt like shit. And so I mean just hurt. So PJ took me to the hospital.
Another PJ
Doctor
story.
looked at me. Yeah. So doctor said, "You got the chicken pox. You're 24 years old. We're going to admit you."
Yeah.
So okay. So the first night I was in, and again, this is graphic, and I almost apologize for this.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So once you start taking meds, stuff has to come out, right? Okay. So there I am. I'm on the toilet. I cleaned myself up. No problem. I know. It was literally a shit show. Anyway,
Wow, you went
but
all the
that's not
way.
the story.
You just said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say it all. I'm going to do the whole thing.
That's not the pain.
All right.
The pain was as I stood up,
No.
I got a pain in the place where no guy
Oh,
wants a pain. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me.
yeah, I'm watching.
It looked like somebody was doing this,
Ah!
and I hit the ground and was crying. And I was able to crawl to my bed, and I hit the buzzer.
Yeah, TJ says, ask him about the nurse.
And the nurse asked, "Can I help you?"
As she should.
And I said, I'm in pain, crying.
Right.
I'm in pain. She said, "Where's your pain?" And I said, and I told her, yeah.
Down south.
And yes, and she said, "Okay, we'll be right in." So I literally climbed up into the bed, and I'm in the fetal position. And so they gave me like 3 Tylenol with codeine. And she said, "If this doesn't work, we'll have to give you a Tylenol suppository."
That's okay.
I said,
Slow
"Well,
down.
I'm suddenly feeling better." but that is and what it turned out to be, they knew it was a cramp. It was a cramp there.
So you were dehydrated.
So imagine, what's that?
You got this pain from a van of children. I said, so you were dehydrated. If you got a cramp, that generally means you're dehydrated. You're not.
Apparently, yeah. Yeah. But I mean, there again, still the worst pain I've had in my life. Sorry, Cassidy, if you're still on, still watching, still listening, now you know more about your dad.
You are watching This Show is a Graphical JK with your pals Jason and Keith. It is Sunday night at 9:05 here. It's 3:05 in the East, 2:05 in the Central, 12:05 Pacific, and 8:05 Daniel Nathaniel time. We appreciate that you've joined us. We do the shows Sunday generally at 2 p.m. Eastern. Which is no good for anybody, but it's perfect for us. So that's when we have time. So
Right.
we send the audio over to iTunes, which I actually forgot to do at the last show, so I will do that soon. But this one and the next one will go up tomorrow. So we've done about 50 hours worth of programming, lots of fun and all cards. We started the show because why, kids? We wanted to talk about COVID over here in Germany and give Americans back home some perspective on. Some perspective on how we're coping with COVID and all the other things that have to do with it. So what? Oh no, I'm looking.
No,
I was looking at the wrong feed. You were smirking in the feed that's coming over Facebook, but then I forgot to look at the actual live feed. You were doing nothing. PJ says sorry for yours and the Dodgers loss, Jason.
Yeah.
And of course,
thanks for bringing that up, PJ. I was going to mention that.
So we're talking about, of course. Well, go ahead, and then I'll comment on it.
Tommy Lasorda, who I grew up a Cardinals fan. So back in the 80s, when Whitey Herzog was a manager of the Cardinals and Tommy Lasorda was a manager of the Dodgers, there were a lot of great games between the Cardinals and the Dodgers. I always respected Tommy, always a great guy in all the interviews I ever saw of him. Funny guy, loved baseball,
right.
Loved the Dodgers, and loved Los Angeles.
So, and I said this again, a lot of our material comes from things we've already posted, but I said this on Facebook. Tommy Lasorda was kind of my first look at baseball. So we've been living in Hawaii and on Midway Island, and I had just come home, we just moved to San Diego. My stepfather was in the Navy, and so we moved to this place called Emerald Hills, and I needed to occupy some time. So I would listen to Padres games on the radios. I would watch Padre games on TV. Really, still love baseball a lot. But I remember specifically Tommy Lasorda being sort of my first baseball consciousness. And he was alive and energetic, enthusiastic. And I've just always said to myself, that is the antithesis. That's a big word for PJ. That is the perfect example.
It really is.
Of a baseball manager. I mean, if they were to make a mold for a baseball manager, it would be Tommy Lasorda, right? And so, guy lived to be into his early 90s. I think he was born a year after my grandfather, so who's still alive. God bless him. Difficult. I knew he was in kind of weird health over the last 2 years, but again, another constant in my life in terms of the Dodgers. The reason why I like the Dodgers, Tommy Lasorda and Sandy Koufax is a big influence on me. So, okay. R.I.P. Sandy, or R.I.P. to Tommy. Sandy will be probably 20, 30 minutes on this show, but he says, hey, now, I'm not the one from Oklahoma, PJ does.
I see it.
So, all right, are you ready to start talking about it now? I'm not sure I am.
We might as well.
Right.
Yeah, might as well.
So we're not going to, what happened earlier this week on January 6th, and all of the rumblings about that and the politics about that, and, what side is one on, one side is another one on. So I just want to give, I don't want to give necessarily a political opinion here. I just want to give you a cut and dried, honest opinion of how it made me feel. So, and it made me feel anxious and a little scared, and it was a difficult, painful thing to watch, because it's the Capitol, and because there were people killed, sort of on both sides of that. But it was, I just think, and not to be corny, but you serve 21 years doing something to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, sworn and domestic. And you're constantly bombarded in your life with your wallpapers at work, with AFN video montages, with squadron video montages of certain imagery, right? You're bombarded with the Eagle, you're bombarded with the flag, the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument, the United States Capitol, the White House, and a few others, the Jefferson Memorial, and so on and so forth. Now, I imagine for folks who are from D.C. and that area, it's even got to be a little more painful. Julie, I think, said the other day that D.C. is her second hometown. What I would say is this has created some anxiety for me because, as I've sort of joked about in the show, who knows where this is going to go and how it could or could not be sort of paused, stopped, abated, negotiated, or whatever it might be, because there's already been allusions with an A, allusions, PJ, that is a big word for foreshadowing, to another something like this happening on either January 17th, the 19th, or the 20th. Apparently flyers are popping up, and there's all sorts of chatter on, I guess Parler's not up anymore, so it was there, and Amazon took away their web hosting. So now I think everybody's going over something called WinMe, or I don't know, Windmill or Windmill, I don't remember. And again, number one thing is my diet of social media has changed considerably. Essentially during the day I don't look at it unless it's like a Saturday or something. I'll post something while we're out. But on a weekday, I don't get home. I don't see Facebook till I get home at about 6 or 7 o'clock, and then I sign in right here, and I do it at my desktop. So I don't want to be consuming all of this sort of, they may do this, they may do that, because it does give me a little anxiety, admittedly so. And I imagine it does for many other people, sort of not knowing what may or may not happen. And also the anxiety of, if that does happen, what real measures are in place to stop it? Now we think about the Department of Defense and the military. Well, and a lot of naive people think, well, the military will stop it. Well, the military is still the purview of the President of the United States. And there was something in the news today about Nancy Pelosi asking General Milley, what about something with it was? They said it was an informational call, which is fair, but it was something with what if he's got the nuclear codes and this, that, and the other thing. And some people said, well, that in and of itself is insurrection. And okay, whatever. That's the rhetoric I'm trying to avoid. But the part that sort of, I don't know, I guess the part that's really niggling me right now is if 1 million people with guns decide to rush Washington, D.C., who's going to stop it? And the all 50 capitals, as is advertised, who's going to stop it? Right? So we say, okay, police. We say, okay, maybe the National Guard, something like that. But again, there's a strange, weird inevitability about that. That's just sort of, it's niggling. I want to think positive. I want to be like, it's tomorrow's another sunrise, and we'll see what happens. And when we look back on the Capitol thing, and I apologize, I'm droning on and on because I definitely want to hear what you have to say. When we look back on the Capitol thing, it's incredibly sad that lives were lost. It's incredibly sad that a place that many people consider very a proud monument to our democracy was defaced and defiled, and many others feel like more should have been done, although there have been many arrests since then. They're starting to track down some of these folks who are a bit more brazen about it. But there's just I have a general anxiety about the coming days, and here we are in Germany, right? And the joke I made with my wife is, hey, what if there's not a country to go home to next week? What do we do then? And again, jokes. But on the other hand, with every joke, there's always a bit of truth there. So I've talked a lot. You go ahead.
Going with the meme concept of what you just said, there's a meme I saw today that made me belly laugh. Said, other countries are watching America like America watched the Tiger King.
Which is hilarious.
So it's horrible. I don't talk about my own personal political beliefs, which are I vote for who I want to, regardless of party.
Sure.
There, that's my political belief.
Totally fair.
I was scared. And to be honest, I wasn't watching TV. I was watching in between streaming shows, which maybe we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
I got on Facebook just to see what's going on, and I saw your post saying, and I may be getting it wrong, this is both the most interesting and most horrific time in our life, something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I went, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
So I switched it, and I saw what the fuck was going on.
Yep.
And I just sat down watching. I don't want to make it sound like it was the 1986 Challenger disaster. I don't want to make it sound like it was 9/11, but my ass did not move for an hour.
Right.
Watching. Now, a curious thing I noticed, and because I'm a TV reporter, because I deal with media.
Yep.
Or was a TV reporter, so because of the way Armed Forces Network is scheduled during that time of day here, that time of evening here, I just so happened I got exactly a half hour of Fox, and then I got, before I decided to turn it off, a half hour of CNN.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, they're switching to CNN. I'm going to get a whole different take on the news. And I was pleasantly surprised when I learned that Fox was saying almost the exact same thing as CNN, which this is stupid. Where are the police? Why are these people doing this? They claim to be Americans. And so they were really saying the same thing, which I was, again, pleasantly surprised. The other thing I thought of immediately, again, through social media was I've got a lot of friends who are mixed up. I've got a lot of friends who are, as we both do, are retired military or current military, but more retired is what I'm thinking of. A number of them who said, my oath still stands and I can be there to take our government back. And I will say this, and you can come at me if you want to. If you think the people breaking into the Capitol building to stop a legal democratic process are the heroes, you're wrong. Come at me. I'll make that statement loud and clear.
And I think there are many people who think that. I think there are many others who think the exact opposite, that they were looters who broke into a federal building, tried to steal things, killed 2 police officers, I think it is now. One of the rioters, insurrectionists, whatever you want to call it, was shot because she was going into basically a use of deadly force area, and was told repeatedly, don't go there. And some people are saying, well, there should have been more non-lethal aids. There was a SWAT team behind her. If there is a sign outside a military base that says use of deadly force authorized, most 99% of America would go, I'm going to get shot if I go there. This person was repeatedly warned and got shot, and that was very sad, and I feel awful.
If you have to climb a wall, climb through a broken window, and then a window, because this is where she got shot,
right,
in a door frame
that
of
was
a
barricaded.
hallway,
Yeah,
that was barricaded with officers pointing guns at you, and you continue to climb, I'm going to say you got what you deserved.
Yeah, I mean, it's
opinion.
It's difficult on, as I said in my post, though I didn't make it as clear. I feel badly for the family of the woman who lost her life. I feel badly for the cop, of course, the cop who now has to live with what he did, and go through that, and he has to heal. So those are all very, very tough things. You're watching This Show Is a JK with, that's Keith on the right. I'm Jason on the left. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We're in the bit more of the serious, somber part of the show, talking a little bit about the events of January 6th and so on and so forth. Just to wrap this up, I didn't really say what I was doing at the time. It was kind of interesting. So I've sort of resurrected my comic strip, and I'm running that again.
Yes.
And I'm very happy about that. I'll talk about that in a minute. Remind me to talk about that in a minute, because I do want to tell these 7 or 8 people that it's out there. But Julie said she was prior Air Force Security Forces. She was trained to do exactly what happened to her. She, out of anyone else, probably should have known what to expect, and yet her ideals were bigger than her natural instinct to survive. That's a great take on that, Julie. So what I was doing was I was literally in the middle of inking a comic strip about how nothing happened, and he was getting in the car and sort of joking about it. Hey, are we an AK-47 banana republic? And he says, nope, everything's still on schedule. We go January 20th. And then he says, oh, it could have been much worse. So I was literally in the middle of coloring that. And I have a friend, Dees Cassius. He runs a great podcast, comic, and sort of a multimedia venture called 4 Rounds Comics. I highly recommend it if you're into D&D, or if it's like a play-along D&D, the podcast is. But he's a fantastic artist. And his comic, although it runs along sort of fantasy lines, he's a brilliant artist. He's really good. But he interrupts me, and he's like, you have got to go over to the fucking television. And I don't watch cable news, but I'm like, all right. So I go and turn on, CNN was on, because it was just after 6, right. I think. That's when CNN's hour comes on.
Right.
And there it was, right? And I watched about 7 minutes of it, and I said, okay, what I'm going to do is go back to drawing my comic, and I'm going to sit and I'll get updates as I feel like I need to. So what I did is I drew it, and then I got a little bit off the web to see how it was progressing. And then at some point, it sort of, I don't want to say it leveled off, but it was at that point where they were like, okay, where's the guard? Where's this? Where's that? And then it just became that event, right? And again, there's right. A million little multifacets that we could have on this show, but we're both federal employees, so we are, we're trying to present this in the best light we can. So that's what I was doing. And then when I had the comic done, I sort of threw it at my my friend Dees, but I also threw it at my friend Josh, who lives in Las Vegas, who is actually the character is sort of modeled after him, and he knows this, and he loves the comic and all that. And I said, "What do you think? Should I still run this?" They said, "You should definitely run it because of." Yeah, they were like, "You should definitely run that fucking thing because you were doing it, and it's actually it's a great take." And I was like, "Okay," so I ended up running it. Felt pretty good. I put a little explanation on it. I got like the same 6 or 7 views it always gets. So that was what I was doing at the moment. And since then everything's gotten weird. Twitter's turned off for the president. Parler got shut down by Amazon. Everybody's going over to Wimkin or whatever it's called now, I guess. I saw 3 people on Facebook today. Has anybody got a Wimkin account? I guess, whatever. So, again, kind of circling back around, and I'll let you close this off, and then we can get on to something more funny and wrap up the show. It'll be an anxious week for me. Hey, I know the job I have. It's got to be positive, got to lead. But, on the inside, I'll still be thinking about that because I'm human,
Yeah, it's tough. And, man, I had a thought and I lost it because there's so many thoughts going through.
Probably because I was talking too much again.
No. It's tough to think that it's tough to realize that there are these kinds of people out there that believe everything they read. And I go back to almost a year ago, 11 months ago,
right.
You and I attended and you know where I'm going with this, attended a forum on public affairs folks here in Europe, Army public affairs folks here in Europe.
Oh, yeah.
And we were briefed by the director of communications, read the public affairs officer, for the American embassy in Moscow.
Right.
And we were briefed by her boss, who oversees all embassy communications. And what was it they spent a half hour on? It was that coming up in the election, leading up to the election, you are going to see, because they are saying we're already hearing traffic on it.
Yep.
We're already, and this was last February,
right,
saying that there's going to be a deluge of memes, of fake news, of posts that have no attribution, are fake, will say this, and we saw it.
Oh, yeah.
You and I have talked about it on this show before.
Oh, yeah.
We saw it concerning COVID.
Yep.
We certainly saw it concerning the elections.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that would happen throughout the year. Excuse me. I said excuse me before I coughed. Excuse me.
Where's your goddamn mask?
So I was, so every time something like this, and one of those friends who I would mention, this, I said, come on, man, you gotta do some research. And, we're all guilty. Oh, that's funny, click. Or, but this year has
here
been
it is. It's scrolled in front of me. I'm lazy as fuck. Oh, yep, I believe it. Let me move on to the next one. I believe that too because I researched it on the internet, and the research I got was a meme from China or the meme from Russia or the meme from the Czech Republic. You know who knows a shitload about this? The person who's viewing our podcast, Julie Veckerlein. This is her business, and she's done it very well for the last 5 or 6 years, or actually longer, I'm sure. But she's talked about these very same things.
She's not that old. What are you talking about?
She's like 22. We know that. All right, let's move on to something else. What are we going to move on to? What did I write? So I got to go back to work with you this week.
Is it this week or next week?
Well, it's next week, but I have a feeling what's going to happen is. So if you weren't aware, I took this developmental assignment to be a sort of deputy garrison commander of a site that we have here, sort of in the interim while we were between deputy garrison, they call it deputy garrison manager, between the one that left and then the one who arrived about a week ago. So that tenure is wrapped up. In fact, my last day getting paid for it was yesterday. And so today is actually my first day back as a PA on the books. But so I will now spend the last week sort of sitting in another office, answering questions. I'll be taking a couple of meetings today and setting up meet and greets and all that good stuff. But I'm thinking I should be back by Wednesday or Thursday, and what I'll be going back to is public relations and working with the guy on my right. So that's very cool. Looking forward to that because we've got a new employee and everything else. But it's been a very cool last 4 months, and it's been very interesting, as you know too. So I can't, for those who are listening, you've all got your own perspective on COVID, right? And I think Keith and I have been able to see it from a military leadership perspective, and it's been incredibly interesting, incredibly dynamic to watch folks function in this environment. Incredibly, I mean, cool is kind of the word, just because there's a lot of stress. It's the only thing our new commander has known since he's arrived. And I had to think about that the other day, in addition to the other thing, which we're not going to mention on the air. But it's the only thing he's known since he's arrived. It's literally the only issue. He hasn't gone to go to concerts. He hasn't had to he's met the mayors, but it was kind of like with masks and hazmat suits and all that stuff. There have been no events. There's been none of that stuff that sort of garrison commanders do, go cut ribbons and do FaceTime and all it's just been COVID. And the fact that all of that our folks are still sane and doing that is pretty much a testament to that. So, but in any case, I'm glad to be getting back to work, and our friend, our boss, is going to get cut on, and then he'll be gone about a month, and then we will welcome him back with open arms. So hopefully by then we could, because Germany is still a cauldron of COVID. It's still in a bad way. So hopefully it can get out of that nosedive, and hopefully we're doing our part with the masks and the inoculations and everything else. And then I'll be back to work soon.
Sounds good. Did our boss tell you that you and I have switched jobs?
No, that's news.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You're going to be doing my job.
It's too bad you'll be getting paid less to do a harder job, but I mean, whatever you want. No. It's fine by me.
I'll be getting your pay. He didn't mention that to you. That's funny. Huh, okay. And speaking, we've mentioned Julie a couple of times. So in all seriousness, Julie is down there when COVID first broke out in Germany in ground zero.
Stuttgart was a hot spot, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Stuttgart, down there in Stuttgart. Nuts. So props to Julie for the job.
We were watching that from up here going, we ain't going down there ever again. So.
Oh, hell no. I don't even want to go through there.
The comic that I'm continuing to do is called Angry John Rants. It's on Instagram, easy to find. Just search Angry John Rants. It'll be the only thing that comes up that says that. I'd love for you to follow it. It's essentially the story of 4 guys who work at a Sirius XM type station, but in between they're sort of nerds. They play D&D. They sort of rip on each other. And about every third comic is just John doing some sort of rant. I actually made the comic, Keith, because as we've tried to discuss the capital thing that happened here, we have some limitations. Angry John sort of frees me from those limitations because it's Angry John who's saying them. And I really just hear my friend in Vegas's voice as I'm writing Angry John, so it makes even more sense. So it's pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Anyway, there's a bunch of strips up there. I'm going to try to start doing them every Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is pretty sure I can keep up that schedule now. And then get back to writing. And so I'm fortunate because at the beginning of the year, a little before the beginning of the year, I sort of finally hit an inflection point where I could get back to do my creative work, which felt very good. So good stuff. What do you got going on? What else you got going on?
Like I said, I've been on leave for a week.
Sorry,
so getting back Monday, I get to start my work week with a COVID shot.
Boom.
Hopefully, assuming everything goes okay.
Shot through the heart.
For about the last 10 days, counting the weekend and the holiday, I've done nothing but binge watch stuff. And I've got to say, Cobra Kai, I didn't plan to like it as much as I do.
Yeah.
Love Cobra Kai. Now, Cobra Kai, remember, Karate Kid was never going to win a Best Acting Oscar.
No. But Pat Miyagi was nominated for the Oscar, wasn't he? Pat, what's his God?
That I don't remember. Correct.
Yeah, he was. He was nominated for an Oscar for his role in that movie. So
I didn't. Well, it wasn't Ralph Macchio.
Yes, we will have brackets again. We're just trying to get that. We're trying to get the show back on par, so he and I have a rhythm to do it. And unfortunately, this one was on me. And part of it is now that I'm out of this other job that has a bit more responsibility, I'll be able to pay more attention to, again, the creative, doing these shows. So yes, the brackets will be back. Thank you for asking. In fact, I'm due for the next bracket, so I will get that inputted tomorrow. Inputted, put, and get that to everybody tomorrow. So are we still? Yeah, we're okay. So thank you for the reminder. Very much appreciate it. You're just all going to have to beat Daniel Nathaniel, who is the bracket king. I mean, that guy just kicks ass. So in any case, yes, the brackets will be back. So, and Cobra Kai, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to get that.
No, that's okay. You said Daniel Nathaniel, and I'm thinking Daniel LaRusso.
Yeah.
So Cobra Kai, highly recommend Cobra Kai. The acting is not there, and it's a little bit. There's a lot of plot holes. Let's just say that. But the guy we all hated in Karate Kid. Why can't I think of his name now? Jesus.
We're dropping frames,
Danny.
Keith.
No, not Danny. Johnny. Johnny, the tall blonde guy.
Keith.
William Zupka. Yeah.
We're dropping frames. Hang on a second. Hang on. See if we can get it to come back up. I don't know what the hell happened.
I don't know. We're almost done.
Yeah, we're almost done, too. That's sad. All right, keep charging ahead with the audio. Go ahead.
So William Zupka, who played Johnny, the one we all hated,
right,
is my favorite character in Cobra Kai. He's got his comeuppance. He wants Cobra Kai to be the right way, yet he's the down on his luck guy. He's funny. It's hilarious. And there's in the third season there's a special appearance by Elizabeth Shue as Allie.
Right.
So I highly recommend. A couple others I highly recommend. There's a new one on Netflix it's spelled Lupin, Lupin. I believe it's said French-wise Lupin, which is it's very good. I just finished the last 2 episodes of that first season today. There's one, and I know this will be hard for you to believe that I watched.
What?
History of the Swear Word.
Oh yeah, with Nick Cage. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
It's very interesting and very educational. It's
Nick
not
Cage.
just the first episode is about the F word, so it's not just everybody saying fuck, 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 right? It's I mean
that'd still be a pretty good show right now, to be fair.
They have linguists on there telling you the history of the word and la da da, and the next one I think is called bitch, and next one's about damn, and then whatever. Which takes you back to, these classes we have to take every year to tell us
CBTs.
how to be better people. I had an instructor, an NCO instructor one year, the public affairs office and some other people. And she said, well, don't you know that bitch came from the slavery times? That's what the slavers called the female slaves. And we all kind of looked at each other. I looked back at her. And I couldn't stop it. It happened. My hand went up. And I said, I'm pretty up on my curse words. And that is the first time I've ever
heard that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard the explanation. I said, can you cite your source on that? I'm public affairs. Can you cite your source? She said, well, it says it right here. This is what the Army gave us. I said, okay. Where did they get that? Because I'm pretty sure that's wrong. It goes back to French colonial times and that kind of thing. And she said, well, I'll get back to you. That was 6 years ago.
I'll get back to you. When I was deployed to Germany, not deployed, but TDY to Germany back in 2001 with my friend John Lasky. John Lasky at the time had a German spouse, and he said, hey, we need to go to, they lived in a place called Forbach, France, which I'm actually pretty close to. And he said, hey, let's go down to Forbach, have dinner with my relatives, and we'll hang out, do a lot of drinking, and then we'll head back up here. Because John was a photographer, I was a journalist. We were sort of cruising around Germany for Airman Magazine doing stories. So I said, cool. So we were at the house, and we were getting ripped on wine and beer, all the usual stuff. And I said at some point, because I was still kind of piecing out German, and I said, John, how do you, because we were talking about his brother, or his I guess it'd be his brother-in-law. No, whatever. How the relation was, but it was like her brother-in-law, and he said something like, looked at John, I said, John, how do you say shithead in German? He goes, well, there isn't really a word in, and I just kind of put it together and I went, Scheiße Gesicht. Scheiße gesicht. He's like, that doesn't really mean anything. I was like, all right, well, Scheiße gesicht. So I made up my own curse word at the moment, and it worked well in that room that night before we had to corral ourselves back up to Rhein-Main Air Base, where Stefan Alford was serving at the time, and continue our mission when then we went on to Iceland and Denmark and all sorts of other locations. So, but you like the show. You like Nick Cage doing that stuff.
I
heard it's okay.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad at all. It's worth a watch. And the last one, this one's actually just started its second season.
All right, then I'll go over mine real quick, then we'll wrap up.
This one just started its second season on AFN. I believe the third season is coming out in the States right now, called Prodigal Son. I really, really enjoy that. It has, oh God, I'm going to screw this up. Michael Sheen in it.
Prodigal Son, yeah. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. I haven't seen the show, but he is a really good actor. Either the 2 or 3 things I've seen him in.
Yeah. And it's a great, great show, so I highly recommend those. That's what I've been doing on my week off since you can't really go anywhere.
Right.
I did go to Globus a couple of times to replenish my red wine supply.
Red wine.
That's right.
So
I notice I'm a nice drunk texter. I'm not a mean drunk.
You're not a mean drunk. That's good. That's good. All the love notes you send me. So Annabelle's been streaming America's Top Model. She's been doing that one, so that's kind of, I catch that every once in a while. Dee Dee and I, for the last 2 days, have been binging House Hunters International, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a homeowner somewhere in Mexico sometime soon because, wow, home prices are ridiculously low there, and what you get for the value is crazy. It's funny, we were watching the show, right? And so we were just sort of letting it boom, boom, boom. And it would go like Mexico, and then it would go like Costa Rica, and then it would come back to Mexico, and then they had one in Cabo, and then all of a sudden it would be like Prague, and I'm like, fucking Prague? No, that's too cold. Go back, and then the next episode would fortunately go back to a warm climate, and then when we go to a cold climate, I'm like, forget it. I'm gonna go do something else for a half hour. It was funny, but we binged those things for a couple of days. I haven't gotten anything new. What you said about Cobra Kai, I really wasn't into it, but then I was speaking to my friend Michael from California, and he's in Texas now actually, and he said it was, it's kind of a I don't want to say coming of age, right? But a sort of, he's been stuck in the 80s and now he's sort of learning how to not be stuck in the 80s or something like that, right? Or something close to that?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, the first time we see him, he's a handyman, living, what do you call it, hand to mouth. He's driving a 1985 Trans Am with faded paint, playing White Snake. So yeah, and that's another thing about Cobra. Another thing about Cobra Kai is it's got a great soundtrack.
Well, I mean, it's in our wheelhouse, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a passing of the torch, because they both have kids.
Yeah.
LaRusso has done well for himself. Johnny has not, but he's trying to break that cycle. And like I said, the acting, it is what it is. But and the storylines, a few of the episodes are, well, I know it's coming. And I still hate Martin Kove, the original sensei from Karate Kid.
Right.
But
didn't he pass away, or is he still alive? Is he in the show?
No.
He's good. Okay.
He's in the show.
Yeah.
In fact, the last couple of episodes of the most recent season, you get to see why he is how he is.
Okay.
But I don't want to ruin it for anybody. But yeah, it's well worth the watch if you want to binge the seasons.
All right, we've sort of run it down for the last hour. You got anything else?
No. I think good to talk to you. Good to talk a little bit about what's going on in the news.
Yeah.
Good to see the people that have popped on.
Yes, thank you all again for coming. We appreciate it.
Ray, Julie, Cassidy, if you're still there. Thanks a lot. And so we'll do this again next week.
We'll do it again next week, tomorrow, or next Sunday at 2, and I will announce the bracket tomorrow on the page. So if you don't sort of have the page on there, please subscribe. And then if you don't want our update, just kill those, but stop by every once in a while. You'll catch that. So the bracket this week, for those of you listening on the audio side and who with us on the video, that will be for a T-shirt. So I'll make sure that this week's goes for a T-shirt, and then we'll start recycling and getting our T-shirts back. What are you?
T-shirt.
You're still mad you haven't got your T-shirt?
What is this T-shirt you speak of?
And then finally, the educational piece I offered to one of my friends this weekend who called me for a bit of counseling is if you get a chance, watch the scene in the Two Towers where Saruman stokes on the villagers. I think that's very important and highly relatable to what's happening to the world. Yes, PJ, I know you are. You're actually the first one on my list, and I'm going to break that down for you. So, all right,
PJ, I'm first. Hey, and thanks for everybody. And Julie, I just want to address Martin Cove was a dick when he was on Cagney and Lacey. So the fact that he's a dick in Karate Kid and Cobra Kai is no change. But yes, he's very good at that role. Yes. So yes, thanks for everybody for watching, listening, and come back.
Thank you all very much for joining us. Don't forget Angry John Rants on Instagram. Go buy a copy of my comic, which I'm still trying. That's another part of the creative piece I'm trying to get that wrapped up issue for. Thank you all again for joining us. Very much appreciated socializing with you. See you guys later. And don't forget the audio is on iTunes, Sprecher, and a few of just all the major streaming platforms. We're easy to find. Just search "This Show is a JK." Get your audio fix. That's usually the audio piece of this comes out on Tuesdays. That gives me a little time to enhance it and put the bass in my voice and do all the good stuff. All right. We love you all. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.